Hello, this is our debate component for our CIPEL. The case we've chosen for our debate component is the Google antitrust case of 2022, which specifically talks about the abuse of dominance in the Android ecosystem. The case is mainly how the Competition Commission of India, which moderates monopolies in India and antitrust cases in India, has put a fine of 1,300 crores on Google for the abuse of their dominance in the Android ecosystem. So, for the case of the CCI, Neha and Mithila will be talking. And against the case, I'll be talking for against the case of CCI. So, Mithila, do you want to get started?
So first point would be market dominance leading to exploitation. Google holds a monopoly over the Android ecosystem in India, approximately 90% of the market share. Such dominance allow it to enforce unfair obligation on smartphone manufacturers. And the second point can be a lack of consumer choice. Users can't easily uninstall pre-installed Google apps such as uh, Google uh, Google Chrome or Google Maps or such things. And then Google discourages rival search engines and browsers from gaining market attraction. The next few points will be told by Neha.
Okay, before that, I'll just give a few points for the against case. So mainly against these 2 points, I have 2 points as a rebuttal. Firstly, Android is free and open source, which means fundamentally, unlike Apple's iOS, Android is open source, right? So manufacturers can modify it for their use, right? And many different versions of Android exist, like Fire OS and Lineage OS, which proves that Android is not a closed source system like iOS. So antitrust does not exactly apply. Second point being, Google's ecosystem provides better security and better stability. I think users will prioritize security and stability over just having a free market of apps, which means pre-installing Google apps ensures better security, better updates, and compatibility across many different Android versions. So a lot of people have multiple Android devices at home, and it makes sure that all of your apps and your phone itself is up to date. And allowing random modifications could lead to inconsistent experiences for different users in the same thing and can cause a lot of security vulnerabilities, and people can be victim of a lot of hacking and a lot of cyber attacks. So Neha, do you want to take the next half of the for case?
Yeah. So I think one thing about Google is about the revenue sharing model, right? Google requires app developers and smartphone manufacturers to share their revenue whenever they use Google Play services, right? So this creates unequal playing field because now startups and developers have to struggle to survive. They are imposing higher commission fees on all these app purchases, and in this manner, Google doesn't actually promote any form of innovation, but it's just a way to control the market, right? So that they have the monopoly of uh, all of these services that they provide, right? Also, I think one thing Arjun said is about how how Android is open source, right? I think we've seen how a lot of companies like Geo and App Bazaar have tried to bring in other services, even like using Android because it's open source. But we have seen that Google and its I mean, Google makes it so hard for users to install and trust such alternative app stores that they do not have any form of like incentive to gain some like trust in people because of the dominance that Google has presently in the status quo. um do you want to say any rebuttals for this, Arjun?
Yeah, specifically three things. The first thing is the revenue sharing. On revenue sharing, it keeps Android free, right? Because if Android does not take any sort of licensing fees, then they cannot give App Store the Google Play Store for free. This licensing is fundamentally what keeps it open source and available for everybody, right? Second thing, the App Store restrictions are necessary for security because if there's a large App Store, anyone can upload anything. It makes sure that people cannot distribute malware in a large scale, right? So Google's restrictive app store play store is quite necessary to make sure that users are protected, and which is the sort of the priority of Google also, to make sure they don't have any liabilities. And the second thing being, pre-installation does not exactly prevent competition. Users are free to download any competing apps like Firefox or Opera or Bing. They can just go to the Play Store and download it, as long as when the creators of the apps themselves have a malicious malware free app, people can upload and do anything they want, right? It's completely open source and it does ensure a free market in that sense. So fundamentally, it does sort of keep a free market regardless, and there is some sort of maintenance. So yeah, that concludes our debate on the Google antitrust case. Uh, in the end, I think the Indian government did impose a large fine, 1,300 crore fine on Google specifically for this antitrust. It's important that we make sure monopolies don't grow too big, and there is some regulations that such that they're not too big to fail or too big to regulate. Yeah, thank you.